Hello friends, welcome to Inside Second Initiative. In today's video, we are going to discuss about South Africa filing case against Israel under Genocide Convention. Regarding this, we will discuss further details. First, we will try to understand video components. In this video, we are going to cover why it is in news, then what is this case is all about, that means what are the details, under which convention, under which article of the convention South Africa is complaining against Israel, then what is this International Court of Justice, because South Africa is complaining against Israel in ICJ. So obviously we have to know what is this ICJ and what is the structure of ICJ, how many judges will be in ICJ, and by the way, tell me students, is there any Indian who is acting as a judge in ICJ? If yes, please put your answer in the comment section. Then India and the ICJ so far, that means in which cases related to India ICJ involved, okay, both recent as well as from the past instances. Then we will try to understand the comparison between the ICJ and ICC. Here ICC stands for International Criminal Court, okay, International Criminal Court. Then we will discuss about the jurisdiction of ICJ, and finally we will discuss about the convention, that is Geneva Convention of 1948, because based on this convention only South Africa filed complaint against Israel. Now let us see the syllabus mapping. It is related to Gender Studies paper to IR, important international institutions. Now this is about Israel complaining against us, South Africa complaining against Israel at the CJI, okay, ICJ. Now let's see, this is about B.N. Rao. He was the first Indian to be acted as judge at ICJ, International Court of Justice, and of course B.N. Rao also legal advisor to Constituent Assembly. Here is the photo, B.N. Rao with B.R. Ambedkar. Next, at the moment Dalveer Bhandari is an Indian who is acting as a judge at ICJ. Now let's see why it is in news. The ICJ, it commenced hearing about South Africa's genocide case against Israel. First we have to understand what is genocide. Genocide is about mass killings based on the race or religion or ethnicity. Here the concept is, who is complaining here? South Africa is complaining. South Africa is complaining against, okay, against Israel, with whom ICJ, International Court, Court of Justice. First you have to understand in conceptual point of view, does the ICJ has the jurisdiction on this issue or not? First, that is you have to understand. For the first question, that is according to the preliminary sources, yes. How? Because both Israel and South Africa both are signatory to the convention related to ICJ. Okay, ICJ can involve in any issue unless until, okay, both the parties are agreed to that ICJ conventions. Here both countries already agreed to the ICJ convention. So now Israel can bring into as a party, okay, bring into this dispute as a party. So ICJ can involve, yes. Second thing, what about the judgment is going to be given by the ICJ? Is the judgment is going to be the binding or not? Means obviously ICJ judgment is legally binding, legally binding, that you have to understand. And third thing you have to understand, whether ICJ can enforce about the judgment. No, ICJ don't have any mechanism to enforce that judgment. That also you have to understand. Cannot enforce it judgment. So these are the concepts you have to understand. Of course, now we'll go through the facts regarding what is genocide, under which convention, and obviously we will discuss about the ICJ structure and the judges tenure and how the judges will be appointed. That we will discuss, okay. And what is South Africa immediately expecting? Okay, of course, because the genocide trial is going to be there for a few years. But now what is the South Africa immediately expecting? South Africa expecting the temporary or interim relief. In which way? Okay, South Africa is requesting the ICJ judge as a part of interim relief, order the Israel to withdraw their military troops and stop all the military related activities in Gaza. That is what South Africa is requesting to ICJ. Now we will see further facts. Okay, so here ICJ, it started proceedings regarding South Africa's genocide case against Israel. The ICJ eventually will decide whether this Israel is guilty of committing genocide or not. Of course, it takes certain years. Meanwhile, South Africa is demanding an interim relief regarding. So, it is asking ICJ that order the Israel to immediately suspend or stop all the military related activities in Gaza Strip. You know that this Palestine, like the claimed territory of Palestine, it consists of both Gaza as well as the West Bank. Here, what is the case? The case is about South Africa filing genocide case. Against what convention? Against the UN's 1948 Genocide Convention. Here, you have to understand one more thing. The UN Genocide Convention, it was the first convention done by the UNO related to the human rights. It was the first international convention by UNO on human rights. So, this is about the ongoing Gaza conflict. The Article 2 of this convention is reading that genocide means an act committed with an intention of, to destroy whole or partially a national, ethnic, racial, religious. It covers all these things. Here you have to understand genocide. Here you have to understand genocide. The case involves, the case should include two activities. Genocide should include two activities. That means physically one country try to harm the other community people physically, as well as they should have that intention as well. That intention should be there. If you have no intention, you have only physical acts, it is like an accidental death of someone. If you have both intention as well as physical act of killing, that is like a killing of someone or assassinating someone. So both have to be there. That we have to understand. Here, whether that intention is there or not, that is a tricky one. That has to be proved. If that is proven, then obviously the action will be taken against Israel. But here one more thing you have to understand. Even though the ICJ cannot enforce legally, even though it cannot enforce legally, but if ICJ verdict the Israel as a guilty, then obviously majority of the international institutions, they stop supporting Israel, and Israel is going to be the spotlight. It is going to be the guilty in international platform. That is what South Africa is trying. The ICJ opinion, they carry weight with UN as well as other international institutions. That we have to understand here. The Genocide Convention. The genocide includes 5 physical acts like killing the members of a group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, and inflicting on the group such as their physical destruction, and imposing the measures so that we can prevent birth of a certain group, and forcibly shifting children from one place to another place with the intention of destroying them or some other intention. All these 5 physical acts covers under genocide. Genocide consists of 2 elements, physical and mental, that you have to understand. So far the physical element has been able to be established, but not the mental one. Next, members and jurisdiction. All members of UNO, they are automatically part of this ICJ statutes. And the ICJ exercises jurisdiction only when both the parties are accepted that convention. In this case, Israel and South Africa both are parties to the convention of Genocide Convention. That is the reason ICJ jurisdiction applicable to both South Africa as well as Israel. So the judgment of ICJ is obviously final and technically binding, and no appeal on the judgment given by the ICJ. ICJ organization, it is one of the principal organ of the UNO. Here you have to understand, UNO consists of 5 organs: UN General Assembly, UN Secretariat, UN Security Council, and the UN Economic and Social Council. Apart from those, the 5th one is the ICJ, International Court of Justice. This is the only UN organ which is present outside of the UNO, that you have to understand. Outside of the New York. Rest of the all 4, they present in New York. This one is present in The Hague, Netherlands. It established in 1945. Previously, before this, there used to be one more organization that was a Permanent Court of International Justice. It was replaced with this ICJ, same like how the League of Nations replaced by UNO in that fashion. It is the only organ which is present outside of the New York. It present in the Peace Palace in The Hague, Netherlands. English and French, These are the official languages allowed to speak at ICJ. Next, the function. ICJ normally involves in settling of disputes related to international laws between the countries, and it will also give advisory opinion, like how the Supreme Court gives advice to President. Tell me students, under which provision of the Constitution Supreme Court can give advice to President? Okay, so it can give advisory opinion referred to it by any authorized UN groups. These are the two functions ICJ can do. Always remember, ICJ only involves in disputes between the countries. It is not related to individual. If the individual has to be prosecuted, that has to be done by ICC, not ICJ. Total number of judges in ICJ, 15 judges, the tenure 9 years. They are going to be elected by UN General Assembly as well as UN Security Council. Elections, 1/3 members of ICJ, they retire for every 3 years. Those 1/3 members will be elected. A person can be re-elected as well, that we have to understand. Judges will be elected by secret ballot, same like president election and vice president election. Indian judges at ICJ. So far 4 Indians, they have become judges of ICJ. At the moment, Dalbir Bhandari from India, he is serving as judge at ICJ. India and ICJ. In these following cases, India approach to ICJ. First one is Kulbhushan Jadhav case. Regarding the Kulbhushan Jadhav case, India filed a case against Pakistan that Pakistan violated certain norms such as Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. According to this convention, Pakistan should have allowed Indian consulate people to approach to Kulbhushan Jadhav, but Pakistan dishonored that. On that grounds, India approached to ICJ. Of course, this judgment was in favor of India. ICJ said that Pakistan breached the Vienna Convention on Consular Access, and even ICJ stopped, it puts a halt on the judgment given by the Pakistan military court. Even regarding the certain phases of continental shelf case in 1960, in this case, ICJ involved and ICJ decided the maritime boundary between the India and Pakistan. Next, in these following cases, ICJ played a role as advisory. In the case of advisory opinion on the legality of the threat of nuclear weapons and obligations concerning the negotiation related to cessation of the nuclear arms race and nuclear disarmament. In these following 2 issues, ICJ plays as advisory role. Next, ICC versus ICJ. ICC, it is a permanent international criminal court. Its objective is to prosecute individuals who are committed in crimes such as genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity and crimes of aggression. Jurisdiction. ICC has jurisdiction over individuals rather than countries. All the countries which signed on the Rome Statute, all those comes under the jurisdiction of ICC. Tell me students, whether India is a signatory of the Rome Statutes or not. Put your answer in the comment section. ICC, it has their own independent prosecutor. That independent prosecutor will bring cases before ICC and ICC will take up those cases. Composition, it has a bench of judges who are elected by assembly or state of parties. That means parties which are signed on the Rome Statute. The nature of cases, already we discussed. ICJ, dispute between states, whereas ICC about individuals. Binding nature, ICJ judgments are binding as well as ICC judgments also binding on the individuals who prosecuted by ICC. Compulsory jurisdiction, ICJ jurisdiction are generally based on the consent to the conventions related to ICJ. ICC, whichever the party signed on the Rome Statute, all comes under the jurisdiction of ICC. So this is about the particular issue. Now let us see yesterday's video question. Consider the following statement regarding the project MOSM. Regarding this, it has been implemented under Ministry of Science and Technology. No. It is focused on Indian Ocean area. Yes. Now we have to understand project MOSM is actually related to Ministry of Culture. Consider the following statement regarding ICC. Read these 3 statements and pick the right statement. Mains question. What are the differences between the ICC and ICJ? Mains question this is. Now, as we reach to the end of this video, in this particular video, we discussed about what is ICJ and the ICC structure, difference between the ICJ and ICC, and why South Africa went to ICJ against Israel, on what grounds, what is the meaning of genocide, that we discussed. So this is the detailed analysis regarding South Africa complaining on Israel at ICJ with respect to Genocide Convention. Thank you.